An old woman thought she had adopted a dog, but months later, she sees something very terrifying with her own eyes. Milagros, an old woman who had been widowed more than 3 years ago, lived in a humble cabin near the forest. The woman had a son, but he was traveling due to work. He rarely visited his mother, who was accompanied only by her cat Tiger. Milagros started to feel lonely, so she took the habit of going for a walk every afternoon in the forest to pick some fruit. She would always be accompanied by her old cat, who lately ended up getting tired faster than the old lady. One of those afternoons, Milagros took her wicker basket and set out to walk into the forest. When she reached the blueberry tree, she stopped to pick some for dinner, but she heard some noises and groans. So, she set out to find out what it was. Behind some trees was a small cub, whimpering because a trap had hurt one of his paws. Milagros rushed to help the young animal, whose strength was gone. She took him in her arms and took him home to provide him with the necessary care. She quickly cured the puppy's paw, fed and gave him water. The old woman thought as soon as the animal recovered, she would take him back to the forest. However, the days went by, and Milagros ended up getting attached to the little puppy, whom she named Max. The puppy was very affectionate with the old lady. Every time he saw her, he wagged his tail and licked her hands. Milagros thought that Max had come into her life to give her joy and motivation. She thought that if she left him in that forest, he would probably get into trouble. And besides, there would be no one to take care of him. Now, Milagros was accompanied by her old friend Tiger and her new puppy Max. Every evening, she would sit outside the cabin to watch her animals play, while she contemplated the sunset. She used to talk to Max as if he were a person, but there was something strange about the animal that made her curious. Max ate more than usual and was usually hungry. She didn't hesitate to contact Joaquin, the local veterinarian. Joaquin went to Milagros' cabin the next morning, and she told him how she had found her dog and how insatiably hungry he was. The man asked her to let him take a closer look at the animal. He examined his paws, ears, and muzzle. He also measured his height and took his weight, and came to a conclusion. "Mrs. Milagros, this is not a dog, it's a Siberian wolf," said Joaquin. The old lady could not get over her astonishment. To think that she had been raising a wolf for 6 months, and that despite its docility, it was a wild animal. The veterinarian recommended that they take the animal back to the forest and leave him. He had enough time to take care of himself. This way, he could also get to his herd, which was probably close to that place. Milagros thanked Joaquin and said goodbye to him, but she seriously wondered if she really wanted to leave Max. She had already grown very fond of him. Besides, he was her partner. Nevertheless, she did the right thing. The next morning, the woman picked up the little wolf and carried him to the place where she had found him. There, she bent down and hugged her little friend, who did nothing but lick her face while vigorously wagging his tail. Milagros couldn't help crying, but she knew she was doing the right thing. Max looked at the old woman as she walked away from him. His face reflected the uncertainty and pain of seeing the woman who had cared for him so well during all these months leave, and by instinct, he began to walk into the forest. Milagros would reach her little cabin where she now felt alone. She knew that she had to feel similar to this morning, so she tried to distract herself by knitting some scarves for the cold and sharing with her old friend Tiger. Days went by, and the old woman kept thinking about Max. One night, however, she felt a knock on her door. When she opened it, a couple of thieves pushed her and entered the cabin to steal some valuables. But when they were about to leave, they heard a loud roar. It was Max. The frightened men shot at the animal, but the animal showed enormous strength and lunged at one of them, leaving his hand badly wounded. Both men ran scared without looking back. Max approached the old woman and licked her face, and then ran off into the woods. Milagros reported what had happened the next morning and went into the forest to check on Max. He lay dying. The wolf looked at Milagros, licked her hands, and closed his eyes. The old woman kept crying, thanking her dear friend for saving her life. That's all. Thanks for making it this far. Don't forget to leave us your feedback and comments.